Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Friday afternoon Unabated Pick 'em show here on the channel. Ben Gretch is with me this week. Carty was on last week. Thomas Viola was on the week before. Going to continue to rotate through guests as basically we're just vibing, man. James Young started us off hot here, gifting 5 memberships. That's beautiful. Nothing like logging into a StreamYard and seeing that we are already starting off the stream. Well, James, thank you. We had a 5-legger hit last week. We made 3. One of them hit. You can't complain about that. Gretch, I'm in dangerous waters, man. I hit an 8-legger last weekend with one of the promos on Underdog. So they know they've got me now. They know if they keep giving me promos, I'm gonna keep hitting them and hitting them and hitting them. But I'm feeling good. I feel like I'm in the matrix on this slate because there's just such clearly good games and bad games. I feel locked in.
That's awesome, man. I mean, it's going to be a fun weekend. I'm interested to see if we get the offenses shifting back a little. One of my theses on everything that's happened so far, and there's been a big talking point, obviously, the high run rates and the lack of scoring and all of that, has been that it's just sort of, a 17-game season, extension of the offseason. They don't have as many padded practices, all of that stuff. And I think, we saw that a little bit last night with the Jets. I mean, we know that the Patriots are kind of like a pass funnel right now, but the Jets came out a lot more aggressive than their first 2 games, throwing a lot on the first drive, wound up having a really good offensive day. Patriots didn't because they got beat down. But I mean, I think we saw a little bit.
But that might even be bullish to your point. The only reason the Patriots were able to compete in those first 2 games is because these other teams are getting up to speed. Now that the good teams are getting up to speed, the shitty teams with no good players are going to get ran out the building.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, I'm just excited to see week 3. I'm excited to see if we can get a little bit more offense.
That would be look, it would be pretty ideal to get a little bit more offense. I think we are set up pretty well to get some more offense, so that's nice. I mean, we've got some really good games this week. If you guys have never watched the show before, basically what we are going to do, we are going to use the tools over at unabated.com. And we go into their Pick 'em Builder tool, load up the Underdog Fantasy lines, load up Carty's projections, and we basically just lock in and build a bunch of DFS Pick 'em entries. There are ways that you can do this that are a little bit less volatile than the way that I do it when you go into the Pick 'em tool. There's a way to market smooth. I don't do that, Ben. I walk in and I go 100% to the blitz, where you are going to end up with this crazy stuff here. I mean, a 50% edge on a projection. You don't really see that. Carty was on the show last week and he talked about it, and he's basically like, this is the way he does things. This is the way he's always done things. He always has a very high R-squared, but his numbers are going to look a lot different than the ETR numbers. His numbers are going to look a lot different than the rotogrinders numbers, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. And I am Gretch, you on Fridays, right? The input volatility, you know how this stuff goes, where basically there are big assumptions being made off 2 weeks of data, and there are still things we really definitively don't know. This first one is a great example. Tony Pollard, lower rushing attempts. You might look at the results from last week and be like, that's crazy. He was the lead back. You dial in on it a little bit more. Spears was actually the lead back before he hurt his ankle.
That's right. Yeah, the first half he had more snaps. Pollard had more opportunities, but then the second half Pollard had 12 opportunities to 0 for Spears. So that makes sense.
Which was
Spears
the way
definitely
they used...
healthy? He's questionable, right?
He's questionable. So that was and I'm not going to toss that one in. I also am not going to do this. I had this whole argument with Carty last week about the Malik Willis passing hires. Now, Carty actually would have been right had the Colts been able to put up any kind of fight. Had the Colts been able to put up any kind of fight, Willis is not a good NFL quarterback, but he was much more in control than I thought he was going to be. Like, I do the pick show on Friday mornings with Reeves, and I was like, dude, the Colts are my number 1 pick of the week. Malik Willis is not going to be competitive in any way, shape, or form. And I was really wrong, which is actually a point that you made in the Monday stealing signals. There's a huge gulf right now between coaching haves and have-nots, and LaFleur is one of the haves. LaFleur is one of the guys who is like viewing each week as its own unique challenge and can beat what is presented to him instead of just trying to run the ball because it's the easiest thing to do.
That's right. And I mean, even with running the ball in that game, he did it really creatively. There was a lot of good research on it. The Smart Football account had a really good thread on it. Chris Brown on Twitter, where they were like pulling guards, like false guard pulls, like the opposite direction of where the run would actually go. So these linebackers are seeing the guard pull and they flow one direction because they use that as a trigger, and the play's actually going the other way. Some of that kind of stuff was something that Smart Football account, it's at Smart Football, was highlighting. And I mean, if Willis plays, I think we would expect to see that again, which would be really interesting for the Pollard under, because it could limit the Titans' play volume if the Packers are really run
especially if the Packers win. If the Packers win,
right?
Yeah.
But isn't Love like a possibility to play as well?
So I think they're literally practicing right now. So we it's like one of those things where we might not know for another hour. The first one on this menu where I tend to think that Carty's projection is correct versus being, missing something or disagreeing with the input volatility is the higher on Purdy passing yards. Yeah. Because I actually think in a weird way, they're going to become more pass heavy with McCaffrey and with Debo out because their success rate
too.
Exactly. Their success rate on the ground is going to be lower. They're going to be in more 3rd and longs. They're going to be, how about like the chance of this game actually being competitive? Like, I think if Debo and Kittle were playing at full strength, this is probably a boat race. And I think historically, Shanahan has owned McVay, if I remember that correctly. Like he's got like a crazy head-to-head record versus him. But the playing field is, well, I guess it's not even because McVay is missing all of his dudes right now. I think even if Kittle plays, I still think this is likely directionally accurate. So I'm going to toss this in as our first leg here.
230 is a pretty low number. I mean, they could lean on Mason a ton, but I like your point. Like game script and some of those things could lead to more passing. They still have Ayuk, obviously. I think Jawan Jennings is a reasonable spot start in fantasy this week, right? Do you ever correlate these? I mean, I wonder what Ayuk's and Jennings numbers are.
Yeah, so I do correlate these a lot. Now it totally depends. Yeah, and so you see this negative
Ayuk's
edge
projection's
here,
high, yeah,
but it's higher. It's because each time you run it, it does a sim. So it sims out, I think 1,000 iterations, not 10,000 iterations, and it uses the distribution based off of that. Now that is pretty high end, which to me, I just think Ayuk goes burr when Purdy goes burr.
What about Jawan Jennings on here?
Oh, that's a good one. I wonder what Jennings is.
I feel like he's got to go over.
There you go.
If you're going Purdy in a game where like Kittle and Debo are potentially both out, I think you got to think that Jennings is going to have a decent game.
Sometimes they will let you correlate these on Underdog, and sometimes they won't. Like it really does just depend. So let's just toss in a random one. Let's do this Trey Tucker yeah. So it's not gonna let me do this. It might not let me do it. It really does depend. Like it's basically like if there's an unknown thing, if someone is questionable, it kind of goes either way, which I like to leave a little bit of mystery. Let's see. Yeah, so I think it's giving me this error message because it's not going to let us do it together. The following projections are inactive. Pollard receiving yards. Please remove those picks and try again. Yeah, they did newt correlations. Most of the time what they do is they will pay you less. You get like a negative multiplier, but you can't. This is what they do. Sometimes they'll let you do it, but then they reduce the multiplier. I think it's a situation like you guys were trying to hit those Braylon Allen hires last night on the shipcast, but it just like wasn't refreshing. Like I just think sometimes the system is going through changes or whatever, and they're not able to get it in. So I'm going to remove those. Purdy passing higher. Talk to me about your thoughts on the Chiefs offense through 2 weeks, because my inclination is Mahomes in a dome. They don't have their running back. Like this is just the Mahomes go burr spot. That is my inclination, but they haven't looked particularly good.
Well, that's my initial thought. The concern is over the last few years that they've done a lot of stuff in the regular season to sort of they don't try to do what's optimal. You know what I mean? Like they try to win suboptimally to like to keep stuff in their back pocket for January. Like they have a very playoff focused mentality. I think there's multiple ways this could go. One of them is that they get very pass heavy here. That last week was just a really game plan specific thing. Mahomes had the 31st most passing air yards last week against Louisiana-Rumo, and we know that that's like a matchup thing that's been there for a long time against the Bengals.
He always owns them.
Right.
Lou
So
Anarumo always owns them.
So they give Pacheco 24 touches. They give Carson Steele 7 carries behind that. He loses a big fumble. I think there's a possibility they do go really run heavy in this game, and like their plan is to like show that they'll still run the ball with Carson Steele and that stuff. My bet would be the higher on passing yards, and we're going to get them really leaning into the high PROE stuff. They've been the number 1 team in PROE, pass rate over expectation, for like 5 years running. I think you lose Pacheco, that's what happens. You go that direction, especially Steele lost kind of an important fumble last week, man.
But they went back to him. But that was crazy. Final drive of the game. I mean, I guess final drive of the game, your options after Pacheco literally breaks his leg are Samaj Pirine, who's been with the team for 25 days or even less than that, actually, I think, or Steele. I was pretty like, how did you approach it in fab betting this week? I had Steele marginally ahead, and Pirine wasn't out there in a ton of leagues, but I was doing like 250s on Steele, something like that. Like I think Steele is a favorite to lead the backfield in rushing this week is my guess.
Yeah, I was more like 200 on Steele, but I had to be kind of talked into that. In part because I think even if he hits probably just on the low value touches, you know, I mean, maybe he gets a goal line work, but I don't think he's going to probably also secure the passing work based on Pirine being there. And then they already, you know, brought in Hunt, and I don't think Hunt's good. Everyone's talked about how bad he was last year.
Did you see this? I just tweeted this. Number 1 comp in the RotoViz sim scores when you put in Carson Steele's 40 and his weight is Samaj Pirine.
It's Pirine. But one of the things about him is like, so he was really good at Ball State, and then he transferred to UCLA for 1 season, and he was like a lot worse than Zach Charbonnet had been the year prior at UCLA. Like in a Chip Kelly system that we were worried kind of elevated Zach Charbonnet, and it feels like probably did, because I don't think Zach Charbonnet is a particularly good runner. Like Steele was like 2 yards per carry worse. Charbonnet was like a 7 yards per carry guy in this Kelly system, and Steele was like a 5 yards per carry guy, which is like not great, I would say, in terms of like if you're meaningfully less explosive than Zach Charbonnet, like that's not very good.
Worth noting, his backfield mate this year for UCLA is playing like absolute ass without him. His backfield mate from last year, TJ Harden, averaging 2.7 yards per carry. I don't know what that means, but it is interesting.
That dude was out producing him last year, or they were like on par.
It was like they were literally the same.
Why was he splitting a backfield with a guy who's averaging 2.7 yards per carry this year is my question. It's not great.
To be honest, I think it is one of those things that it can just be explained by like running back is a weird position. There are things that we can on the high end when you're evaluating guys who are really expensive. I think it's important to kind of nitpick, you know, like when we're about who do we take in our rookie drafts, you know, Jonathan Brooks or a wide receiver, you know, Jonathan Brooks or Brock Bowers, or I guess this year it would have been like, do I take Bo Nix in a super flex or do I take Jonathan Brooks? That's where you start thinking about it. But when it's like, this dude is the heaviest running back on the Chiefs roster. I think he's listed at 235 now. It's like, I don't know, man, a 235. Just imagine if they had Braylon Allen though. I mean, every team is doing this right now, but imagine if they had Braylon Allen.
For sure. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens in this game. I agree with you. I do think Steele leads the team in carries in this game, but like one of the ways I described that on Steele and Bananas yesterday is like, I feel like we could get 8 carries in the first half for Steele, and then they go pretty pass heavy in the second half. He gets like 4 more. He finishes with 12 carries. It's all low value stuff. You get like 50 rushing yards, and it's like, okay, congrats.
Yeah, it is. That is a good point. It is all going to be low value. I think another thing they're going to do, I bet if Worthy had a carries projection, I would be higher on Worthy carries.
I saw you tweet about that, and I think that's a great way of thinking through it. There's going to be more scheme touches for Xavier Worthy as a result of this. Like, there's got to be, and the green zone stuff where they do the creative like shovel passes and a lot of the short Mahomes passes. Like, we're going to get more of that too. That's the other thing about like Steele. Like, what do you get with goal line work if he gets it? Like, they don't
you
run
get the same thing you got with Pacheco, which is like nothing.
Yeah, it's not that great.
Gretch, do you know what I had totally memory hold? No one, not one person. I bet you can go and look of all of the people we follow. The only person to have tweeted this in this analysis of the Chiefs. The year that McKinnon scored all those touchdowns, that he was going nuts, Isaiah Pacheco was playing more snaps, getting more carries, and was only scoring like 12 points per game. McKinnon was just because that's the work that is really valuable in the Andy Reid offense. It's always been that way. Like when LaShawn McCoy and Brian Westbrook were
what do you
crazy.
mean by you memory hold that? That's why like Pacheco going into last year was only like a 7th or 8th round pick.
In my mind, I don't know why this is. In my mind, it was CEH that was sharing the backfield with McKinnon that year.
Oh, got it.
Just in my mind, Pacheco hadn't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
Like I'd kind of forgotten how much he had played. Okay. So I did get it. I did get it to I just had to refresh. I got it to take the Ayuk. So we've got Purdy higher, Ayuk higher, Mahomes higher. I think those all feel pretty strong. Now, something that you are going to notice if you're a new viewer to the show, I can't help it, Ben. I know this is true. I'm just so predisposed towards hires because I'm a fantasy analyst. I want good things to be happening on offense. So it's a little bit harder for me to take lowers.
Well, listen, because it's fun and because no one wants to take a bunch of lowers, we can definitely make a case here that because of the first 2 weeks, all of the numbers are going to be a little bit tilted low.
They're too low.
We're talking about maybe things will scale up in week 3. We were talking about that broadly at the beginning. So, maybe it's the sharp play this week. We can at least make that take.
I mean, these are like if you just did. Actually, I bet there probably is a way I could look this up on Unabated somehow. Like historical, what has Mahomes' passing yardage prop been? In my mind, it's normally like 285, and now he's in a dome game. You know, this is so funny. Liam and I did one, and we went to go submit lower on Rodgers' rushing yards, and he beat it on the first drive, but it wouldn't accept Liam's slip because it couldn't tell his location, so we had to refresh, and then it was gone, and then he clicked higher because I told him to click higher. So we ended up winning by complete accident, which is beautiful. All right. Denver backfield. Carty is very, very divorced from the market on Jaleel. I assume on Javonte too. I bet. Yeah, he is. He's higher on all those guys. He's just tilting them super run heavy, basically, is what's happening. Like basically just being like, the Broncos have been impossibly bad on offense. That's another thing. Using Carty stuff, he regresses offenses a lot more towards like league averages and historical norms than like other places are going to have the Broncos to basically be like literally not one person is scoring points here. I could be tempted into some Jaleel McLaughlin hires. Do you have any lean there?
It's weird to me that it's the rushing side because I think the concern is that the Bucs are just going to be a lot better than them, and they're on the road. They're going to get stomped a little bit. What did they have rushing last week against Pittsburgh in a horrible game?
I was going to say they literally had to have had like 42 rushing yards as a team.
Yeah, Javonte had 17 on 11 carries, and Jaleel had 6 on 3 carries. That's not very promising for taking a rushing yardage over.
I'm skipping that. Here's a lower I won't take, but we can discuss. Malik Neighbors had a 64% target share last week for the New York Football Giants. I promise you that any kind of sharp analysis of wagering on these is going to have lowers on Malik Neighbors, but I could never possibly get myself to click that. It just looked too good.
Yeah, I'm writing the input volatility as you mentioned, and I just noted in that game that obviously last week you're playing the Commanders, like they're able to really force feed him work because they can't stop anybody. You're playing the Browns this week. If the Browns are able to key on him a little bit more, the volatility point for me was Wan'Dale Robinson. I think has some if you want to play it, I don't think you want to play it through a Neighbors under because the point that I made is like you're not sitting Neighbors in fantasy, right?
Ever,
but if it does impact him a little bit from a volume perspective, Wan'Dale's I think the next best guy in terms of a target earning perspective, right? And so that's the way I would play it, as on an over on him. Yeah, look at that.
There we go.
29.5 number. I
There
mean,
we
if they're
go.
able to slow down Neighbors at all, or even if they aren't, like, Robinson's still live for that, right?
Do you like yards or receptions more?
3.5 receptions. I mean, maybe receptions. Last week he had 2 catches for 9 yards or something.
I was gonna say I think receptions is a little bit safer for
Two-
Wandale.
Yeah, 2 for 18. Yeah, the logic is that Neighbors can't have so many targets. So Wandale gets 6-8 targets, catches 4 balls. They're going to be low ADOT, high catch rate balls. I love that.
Yeah. All right, there we go. Looks like Carty. Looks like the projections are in general kind of low on the Commanders' passing game, which actually makes complete sense to me. Not only is Jane Daniels, he's just not quite there yet as a passer, but also Cliff is just like, what is Cliff doing with him, bro?
It's the horizontal raid. Yeah, so we got a 4.1 ADOT from him last week as a passer after a 5.2 in week 1. Only Daniel Jones, Baker Mayfield, and Gardner Minshew as among starters were lower in week 1. And then last week, his 4.1 ADOT, only Bryce Young was lower. I think probably over the 2 weeks combined, Jane Daniels has the lowest ADOT of any quarterback.
Christ, dude.
And this guy was a vertical passer in college. He's a mobile. So you go look at what Shane Steichen's doing with Anthony Richardson. And I've been notably like a little bit down on Richardson's upside as a passer, but I love it. They led the NFL in air yards last week in this low volume game where they got beat by the Packers. Yeah, he didn't hit on the throws, but they're building the whole offense there out of the run game and vertical passing. Stretch the defense and then run, because he's not great in the short to intermediate range. And I think it's really intelligently designed, and it helps Richardson in fantasy as well, because when he hits on those big throws like in week 1, you're going to get 200-plus pass yards on 9 completions, which he had in week 1, right? You can get all these big plays, 3 completions of 40-plus yards. Daniels doesn't have that working for him because Cliff isn't allowing him to be vertical. Mina Kimes and Benjamin Solak had a clip this morning that I shared on Twitter. That they shared on Twitter, and then I retweeted it. But it was a comment or a discussion about how they're shrinking the field with this low ADOT stuff and all this quick game stuff. That's exactly the opposite of what you should be doing with Jane Daniels. You should be using his verticality to push the safeties deep, right?
No, it should be like play action, getting him rolling out, like a lot of like play action, bootleg type stuff. Get him out of the pocket if you're worried about the offensive line. Let him, threaten the run against the linebackers to buy himself some time. You've got you've got a good deep wide receiver in Terry McLaurin. And the only thing De'Ami Brown can do is run in a straight line.
Yeah.
Like De'Ami Brown literally can't do anything else. Yeah.
Why did you take under completions when the problem is a low ADOT thing? Like
I didn't. I literally didn't mean to.
Yeah, don't do that.
I meant to do yards.
23 completions last week, 17 in week 1. He's completed 75% of his passes because it's super low ADOT, right? And so
I wonder what his completion percentage. Sometimes they do completion percent. They don't have it. They don't have it up yet. All right.
What about
that's one?
I almost would take a higher on the completions, like that, because such a low ADOT thing.
Oh, they don't let you do two. They don't let you do 2 guys on the.
Sure.
I do. That would be Underdog Fantasy. If you're listening, someday allow us to do
higher completions, lower yards on the same player.
All right.
Anti-correlation.
Locking it in. Purdy, higher passing yards. Ayuk, higher receiving yards. Mahomes, higher passing yards. Wandale, higher 3.5 receptions. Jaden Daniels, lower 195.5. I will share this in the YouTube, and I will also share it in the TakeCast Discord if you're in there. And that is DFS Pick'em entry number 1. Beautiful. Nice and easy. Sometimes I will reuse these. I imagine the one I'll use the most this week is probably the Mahomes passing higher. I think I did Bijan. No surprise. I did the Bijan rushing higher on every Bijan and Nico Collins. Nico Collins' line on Underdog last week was 11.5 fantasy points, which I'm pretty sure he beat on the first drive. That was on everyone. Okay. Chargers backfield. Carty's got mega hires on Gus Edwards here. I mean, I'm definitely no shot. Am I putting these in a slip? No chance.
No.
He's probably right from a pure how you should project this, because you can't project J.K. Dobbins to basically. I think it would be irrational to project J.K. Dobbins for like 70% of the workload here.
Yeah.
And I mean, how many total rushing yards in this game? I mean, the Steelers and the Chargers, is there going to be a forward pass thrown? It's like unbelievable.
That's one of the reasons I would be actually like on the lowers for Edwards. One of the fun stats for Dobbins, obviously he's been the biggest story like from running back so far, is if you look at the rush yards over expectation number over on, you know, the next gen stats, or NFL's got the NFL Pro subscription now, which has some great stats. He's plus 139 in rush yards over expectation. He's hit on some long runs. The next back in the league is Josh Jacobs at plus 62, less than half the number of yards over expectation. Gus Edwards has been meaningfully negative in both games. And so through 2 games out of 48 qualifying runners, he is 47, 46, 45, 44, 43rd at negative 35. He's been in the negative teens both games and has negative 35 rush yards over expected in the same offense, behind the same blocking, right? Like, that's not great.
Yeah, it's really not great. I think this is right. This is one of the spots that I'm really
yes, I love that.
Is just A-chain, just A-chain in general. A-chain in DFS, A-chain in battle royales, A-chain in pick ems, A-chain in prop betting. I mean, if you were Mike McDaniel, what would you do to try and give yourself a chance to win this game? You'd be like, we just got.
Oh, they're going to build the whole plane out of A-chain.
The whole plane.
I think
and Tyreek, actually, honestly, I think.
I think that receiving yardage higher, 25.5 is nice. Oh, you're going 12.5 on the longest.
I think both. I think both.
What is unabated?
I think both are good.
What do you see on unabated for the
here? Let's check the prop tool, and I will run these sims real quick. I'm gonna guess that we've got some huge value here, because it's 25.5 everywhere. I wonder, maybe it might not even be loaded in this tool. Yeah, it's not. So Carty. Maybe I need to reload, but Carty doesn't have a projection up for them right now. Maybe I'll reload, because sometimes it can just bug out for a second. So yes, this is what you will find a lot of the times is it will really depend what you are selecting, like the payouts. And also I'm in a pick 'em champion state, which is different than their straight up pick 'em game. I am playing peer-to-peer, and I can actually show you guys from last night the way that plays out. You guys are not going to believe this. In fact, you guys can. We're all about transparency here. You guys can see all these dusty ass picks I made last night. Bunch of losses here. Lost the profit boost, but this 3-leg selection here: Lazard lower targets, Gibson higher receiving yards, Mike Williams higher receiving yards. This was a $25 entry. Supposed to win 150 points, but everybody got dusted last night. Everyone lost on the Patriots Jets game because everyone bet hires and no hires came in. So I won $336 because everyone dusted off. It's a DK Champions is effectively a peer-to-peer game where the amount of money you win is relative to how good your opponents are. Yeah, I did tail the Chasers last night, and it didn't go that well, but that's all right. I'm always down.
Process over results.
Process over results. Yeah, okay, here we go. I will reload. I'll do a little bit of market-based smoothing, and I can use Unabated has this feature where basically they just use the averages of all the props that are out there on all the sports books and blends them in. It is going to make our odds screen look a lot different. There's not going to be a lot of 50% edges once we smooth them. In fact, there might not be. There literally might not be any, which is all right. No, okay, we have some. And actually, once we add the market smoothing in, A-chan
pops up.
I threw this out to Pat Mayo this morning. Leggett played way more than Mingo in week 1 and looked really good. Do you have a read on why Mingo is playing instead of Leggett last night?
Absolutely.
Or none, right?
Absolutely no idea. I think Jonathan Mingo might be the worst receiver in the league that is playing meaningfully. He's looked really, really bad basically his whole career, but even through the first 2 games, but they're still using him. It wasn't a big difference, though. They split both weeks. I just looked that up because I was kind of curious. Both were at 59% routes in week 1, then they were at 55 and 52 in week 2. So they're both right in this 50 to 60% route range. I think it's just one of those things where, like, they were talking about Mingo having a good August. They're trying to give him some playing time. I think by like week 6 or week 8, we're going to be seeing Leggett at like 75% and Mingo at like 30% because it's just going to have to happen. Like, Mingo just isn't very good at football.
No, Mingo is not very good. And also that market smoothing I didn't like because it was not giving us as good numbers as I wanted. So I want I want the juice plus EV. No, I wonder what we have for Xavier Leggett. Maybe not anything. I would be very interested in Leggett in general with a competent quarterback. DJ Shark in the one game that Dalton started last year, 4 for 86 and 1, which is kind of the player that Leggett is. I don't think I can. Well, that's like a backup tight end number. 4.34x multiplier is like, that's what I bet that's better than Johnny Munt. I bet Johnny Munt's touchdown multiplier, he literally has worse odds to score a touchdown than Johnny Munt.
I think you got to take that, man.
I am taking that. That is crazy.
The mistake we made last night is we did Garrett Wilson in the second half, and it was a similar number because we only had a half. It was close to 5x actually.
Yeah.
But we made it a 3-legger, and we hit one of the other legs, but we missed. We hit the Pop Douglas over, but we missed. Lazard just needed 1 catch in the second half. But like that would have been a 3-legger that was, I don't know what the odds came out to, but I mean, it was almost 5x for just the Garrett Wilson number alone. I mean, that just dropped meaningfully in real time.
So that'll happen while we're doing this because people will input them and their software catches it immediately.
Oh,
like basically
hilarious.
Someone will be watching, they'll put Leggett in a 3-legger and then they'll change it immediately, which is pretty funny. Yeah.
Crush your own odds.
So the way I treat these is because I literally, like, unless there's an insane edge, I mostly do like $10 or $25 per one. So I'm mostly building 5 legs or 8 legs, which is not it comes down to like, what are you in this for? Are you in it like, are you trying to like really grind out the margins? And if you are really trying to grind out the margins, you should definitely use the unabated stuff in a way that I am not using it, which is kind of just seeing where the market is off from. Like this screen right here would be the way to use it, which is just their odd screen overall. And you can compare and see where, and you can run a sim. So it'll give you a median number based off of the sim. That would be the way to do it. Yeah. And if any of you guys are new to the Pick Em stuff, so the way it works, this is kind of theoretical for this show. It's mostly about vibes, but
this isn't true when you throw in a 4.5x touchdown.
Correct.
It changes the payouts.
Correct. It changes the payouts pretty significantly. But if you're just doing higher or lowers, so assuming even money, I believe the implied vig is -128, and then it's -115 when it's, or -120 when it's a 3 or a 5-legger. Anyways, back to the content mines. Who else?
Ooh. Why is Bauer's reception so low? What do we have for Bauer's receptions?
I believe it's 4.5, so literally under
Achane, Bauer's, and like, I mean, what was another obvious? I mean, those are just locks. Those are lock buttons.
Can I go Mingo under on the same one? Except Bauer's higher. All right, who else do we love? Do we love?
Beautiful.
That is beautiful.
I mean, you had the
crazy though.
The Jawan Jennings one was way too low. I mean, Kittle's going to be out. We didn't get that into one yet. We did the Purdy side, but 40 receiving yards, dude. Jennings is this is about to be Jennings's like.
Let me check.
best
I bet
beat.
this is see. So Carty, and this is even low, 40.5. But I'm gonna. So it's also, you can see this. All the hires are shaded. Caesars, it's shaded higher. Bovada, it's at 44. Shaded higher at Pinnacle. Yeah. So that is that. I mean, again, this is pretty inside baseball type stuff. But if you go to the prop screen and you see that the implied vig is on the hires, that means that that you're gonna get some steam. 40.5 receiving yards. And let's add Purdy higher passing yards, and let's add. Maybe don't tail this one, guys.
We already got a Leggett touchdown in here, and you're like, let's make it a 7-legger.
No, well, so don't do a 7 legs are really bad. Someone was explaining to me this the other day, but you get, once you go over 5 legs, you get a flexed payout, which means that if you can miss one or you can miss 2 and you still receive money back, but they really nuke it at 7. So if you're gonna do 7, you gotta just do it. There you go. A nice 240x.
Beautiful. All it requires is Xavier Leggett to score a touchdown and 19 other things to happen.
And how could it possibly? I'm telling you, dude, they really got me. They really got me when I won one, because now I just feel like I'm on top of the world.
For sure.
All right. Let's come back to earth. Let's come back.
We got to do a simpler one with Bowers and Achane, because those are the ones that we really like. Those ones are speaking to us.
Bowers, 4.5 receptions.
Achane over. I mean, these are clean.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, the one Dale one was pretty clean. It was only 20. What was it? 20 yards or 3.5 catches. Those are.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think a fair line for Akers would be if they don't have any out yet? But I'm pretty interesting. I'm pretty interested in, like, if they post him at like a really like 54.5 rushing yards or something, which is like kind of like their standard line for a shitty starting running back. That was like Zach Moss's line. Yeah, 50.5 rushing yards. Someone is saying. Yeah.
That sounds right. And if Pierce is definitely out as well, I think you like that, because I think they'll do a very Akers on rundowns, Agumbawale on pass down split. I think you'd feel good about his rush attempts, kind of similar to what I'm expecting from the Chiefs with Steele and Pirine.
I think that is a pretty good number for a Cam Akers touchdown, honestly. Like a small multiplier that I guess that implies like plus 115-ish. For a touchdown. I guess that feels fair. I don't know if that feels good, but it feels pretty fair. Yeah, Peppertoni, I do know why. I mean, it's literally based on where you live. It's truly just, so I'm in Missouri, so I get Pick 'em champions. But if I drive to Illinois, 20 minutes across the border, I get regular Pick 'em, where it's just you versus Underdog. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back here and see if we can find anything else interesting. Breaking my heart.
The thing about Akers that I wouldn't love about that number is that we don't have confirmation that Mixon and Pierce are out. I think you'd want to wait for that, and then you could make a pretty good case for that TD number. It's not strong enough to like.
I like this as well. Tank Dell higher. It feels like a Tank Dell week.
Yeah, I like that.
His he has, if I remember correctly, I was just looking at the stuff this morning. I want to say he has 20 less air yards than Nico and 105 more air yards than Diggs through 2 games or something. I mean, he dropped like a 60-yard touchdown against the Bears. So that'll happen. What about the value on these Barkley lowers? I think I can't possibly get more owned by Saquon Barkley, so I wouldn't want to go lower on him. But it does set up to be a bit less of a Barkley game. Well, does it? Without A.J. Brown, they probably just run the piss out of the ball. I was saying if they get into a track meet, then you're not going to want to hand the ball off to Barkley 18 times, but maybe it won't be a track meet.
He's playing like 90% of the snaps. There's not a lot of backs that are playing as much as Saquon Barkley right now. He'd be somebody that I probably wouldn't be taking unders on, because who knows, what the script is going to, but he's going to play, right? If the script goes a certain
that's just
way.
not a spot. Yeah, it's not a spot I want to attack in.
I don't want to be taking
way.
lowers on 90% running backs. That's
No.
just like, you don't want to do that, I don't think.
No, I really do not. Jerome Ford had 7 rushing attempts.
Is this Justin Herbert is out? He had the ankle injury, right? They're saying in the chat, Herbert. That's interesting.
Well, let me go. I will go run a quick little Twitter search, but that's pretty big.
That would make that Chargers Steelers game really
Oh
suck.
my God. Easton Stick. I do not see anything. Herbert is playing.
Okay. Maybe that's they're saying Justin.
Justin Herbert said he's dealing with a high ankle sprain, but it's getting better every day. Said his status is yet to be determined. Yeah. Herbert's playing, dude. Herbert is playing in the same way that Mahomes played with his high. That's just what these dudes do.
I like a couple of these in the chat. There's a JSN receptions one, 4.5. That feels nice. And then Nick said Fantasy Life likes Jameson Williams higher on his receiving yards. I mean, it's possible he's like not the guy this week, but his role's been really strong. And then Carson Steele under receiving yards, I really like too. Like it might hit, but don't we think Carson's going to be pretty specific? It's only a 9.4 or 9.5. I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, I don't like that because that's.
I assumed it was like 0.2 or something, but like 9.5 is not it.
You guys had Taekwon last night, and I was like, I hate those, even though I know they're good. I hate it when one pass can smoke you.
Yeah,
just the worst. It's just the worst when
they'll run a screen to him, and if it goes for if it's blocked up well, it'll go for 11 yards, and then you're screwed.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we've got Bowers higher receptions, A-Chain higher receptions. Remove the Mingo. JSN higher receptions.
This is a fun one. This is pretty
good.
This is a Gretch favorite one. These are guys.
I was going to say this is pretty realistic, and we are not sacrificing. We're not sacrificing a ton of edge. Actually, we're not sacrificing any edge, so I feel pretty good about that. I want to get your thoughts on the Cleveland backfield because Ford's numbers are implying, that he returns to the role he was in week 1. I mean, Donta Foreman just got more. He had 17 rushes. Jerome Ford got 7. Now Pierce Strong is out.
It's one of those ones that. So I did already write up that game for the input volatility. They're playing the Giants. I was mentioning that a bit ago. My take is like it could go any direction. It was kind of wild. Like Ford's whole role got basically cut in half. His snaps, his routes, his rushes, all of it basically cut in half for Foreman, who started from the beginning. But Foreman also fumbled near the goal line. He ended up recovering it himself. But he also he just wasn't that good necessarily. So I don't know. Like Ford is the one who wound up hitting a good run late for 36 yards. So I don't know how much that's going to stick. It's really tricky. The one I see there on the screen is look at Pirine's his rushing and his receiving 18.5 receiving yards.
I think Carty is effectively putting him in as the McKinnon. Right. I bet he's got Pirine for 9% of 9% of Kansas City's targets, but it also all flows from the fact that it's in a dome and he's got Mahomes way over his stuff. I don't hate it. I actually think if you were going to play Pirine, the way to play it would be Pirine
receiving over.
Yards.
He's barely played in the first 2 games, but he has a catch in both games. I kind of think he's going to catch 3-4 balls.
He dropped a 35-yard touchdown in week 1. I mean, it was in his hands. Mahomes had him on the wheel route.
That was Pacheco. Pacheco dropped it. Pacheco dropped the wheel route.
No, I know that I'm right about this.
Maybe they both dropped one. Pacheco absolutely dropped the pass.
This is about to be. Am I going to get demonetized for this if I pull up NFL Pro? I'm gonna sign. It might. This might.
So he did have an incomplete target week 1. He may have dropped one, but Pacheco dropped one too. Then is what I would say. He was.
I'm about to. This is gonna be cutting edge. It's so funny. I have to sign in on my phone to get into NFL Pro. We're about to be cutting edge here on the program. we're gonna do NFL Pro for the very first time. Ben? Are you in on NFL Pro?
Yeah, I got it up right now. Oh, that's right. You can go watch it. I see how you're using it now. The use case is fantastic.
I have to scan the Q. Oh my god, I'm literally such a tech.
I have it open
sometimes
right
it's
now.
unbelievable.
I mean,
share your screen with me and pull up the Pirine week 1 target.
All right. Present. Let's see. I got week 1 filter by team. Kansas City.
Please, YouTube, do not demonetize me.
Wait. Well, qualified receivers only. Samaje Perine targets. But look, we got to do Pacheco after. That's the thing. All right. This is the completion. Here's the incompletion to Perine in week 1.
He's on the left side.
Yeah. I was drinking in Vegas for this game, so you can't blame me too much.
I mean, he's gone if he catches that. He
needs to cut that upfield for sure. But you said it was a wheel route. Let's go to Pacheco now. We got to go.
This was worse. This is honestly worse.
You remember the Pacheco one too, because this was I think the wheel route that you may have been thinking of, where
I was thinking. Yeah,
he just drops it, hits him in the hands. They both were bad.
Yeah, if I say please legally, they can't demonetize the stream. That is right. True. They can't. Yeah.
This is right on his hands. Oh, Pacheco.
Brutal.
If you say please, they legally can't demonetize.
They legally can't. Yeah. So the Pirine one is still pretty bad. He had a lot of room. The Pacheco one is worse.
The thing about the Pirine, they're saying like he didn't drop it, Mahomes missed him. In my opinion, you have to get upfield on that. You're like, Mahomes is leading you upfield. You're on a swing route. Like, that's part of your job as a running back. He doesn't want to throw it behind you. He wants to throw you to where you're catching and running up the field on a swing. And Pirine's just like reaching out while running laterally. Like that is on Pirine. I'm a Pirine truther. That's on Pirine for me.
Yeah, that is on Pirine. Damn, NFL Pro. If you guys don't have NFL Pro, that's $99 a year to just be able to like literally fact check a play, and it takes 2 seconds.
Great use case for it right there, because I was trying to like. I first went to the box score and I was like, okay, so Pirine did have an incomplete target, and I was trying to think of like how I could look this up, and you were on it immediately. It's like, oh yeah, duh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, that is I love. See, I very much disagree with this. I guess I'm the last one left. You know, it's like everyone's saying like, oh, the optics of bringing him back. I mean, he's got no gas, dude. Pirine or Hunt has no juice at all. Leone kind of chided me the other day about using rush yards over expectation too much, but he was 4th worst in the whole NFL in rush yards over expectation.
Yeah, he was terrible. Sean was telling me in some of the SIS numbers, he was either dead last or second to dead last. I just Googled him to check the chat was saying that they announced they weren't going to have him up yet. And Rappaport did tweet this out 44 minutes ago. Just signed this week on the practice squad, won't play Sunday. I thought it was somewhat bullish for the Hunt thesis that Reid said earlier in the week he had a chance to play Sunday. Like, it's an indication that like they're gonna probably have him up at some point. But while tweeting or Googling his name, Chiefs. This is from the Sleeper NFL account. It says Chiefs running back coach Todd Pinkston, who's a former wide receiver. So is he really their running back?
The old Eagles wide receiver.
Yeah, who played for Andy Reid. I didn't know he was their running back coach. That seems like maybe that's off. But it says on running back Kareem Hunt, he still has it. We've just got to get him up to speed. I was reading that as you were like, he has no juice left. He's got none left.
I mean, but like, did Darrell Williams or Damian Williams have any juice? I get Damian did. Darrell did not. Darrell was Carson Steele, but like not as strong. Darrell Williams.
I don't even think Isaiah Pacheco was that good of a runner, man. CEH was never good at football, but like you can score when all the defense cares about is defending Patrick Mahomes. Like, you get the best running scenario you can get. You run against light boxes, no one cares. Swing passes, no one's coming down and cracking down on you. They are really worried about Patrick Mahomes beating them down the field. That's how every defense plays the Chiefs, right? They try to turn Patrick Mahomes into a check down guy. It opens up stuff for the running backs. Pacheco's not bad or anything. I don't know that he's like gets a ton more than what's there. And certainly he's better than what they are going to go forward with, I will say for sure. Better than Hunt, better than Steele.
I think Steele is better than Kareem Hunt at this stage of his career. That's my take.
That
That's my
be
take.
case. But what I'm saying is I think both of those dudes, even while I don't have a lot of like a high like degree of confidence in them being good at all, both of them can be successful as a Kansas City Chiefs running back. Same with Samaje Perine. Like I think it's great for all of them.
Same is true for all of them. If they decide Keontae Ingram's getting 18 touches, I'm going to be pissed I didn't do Keontae Ingram. Yeah, that and if I end up being wrong, if I miss the boat on Kareem Hunt, you know, them's the breaks. I have 11 high stakes teams this year, teams that cost $1,000 or more, and I got Jordan Mason on none of them. So it probably isn't going to be my year to win the $1 million anyway.
I don't got a lot of Mason either, man.
Yeah. This is probably the most exploitable spot of the year if you had a stance, because these numbers are so low. Carty's got Stafford higher passing yards, which I think is correct. Look how low these lines are. Whittington.
Is Tyler Johnson even in here?
Tyler Johnson.
Oh, there he is.
At 3.5 receptions and 33.5. I mean,
I like the dude. You want a little short king take? I like the Tutu number. He had a 40% target per out run last week. They're not going to play him a ton. Right. They're not going to play him a ton, but they're going to play him situationally. He is going to get targets when he's out there, right? 4 targets on 10 routes. Yes, but they need explosiveness in the pass game. I do feel like they're going to use him. The longest reception higher. I love
longest
that,
reception.
That's great.
Yeah.
He's going to hit for a 15-yard reception. They're going to give him at least 3 chances to get that.
A-Chain, we like the receiving yards. What else did we have up here? JSN, higher receptions. Yeah. This feels like a JSN game to me. I think it might just be the JSN. I was going to say it might just be the JSN season. How good did that feel to see a 16 target JSN game?
I mean, it was right up there with the birth of my children.
Yeah.
It was I needed
unbelievable.
That,
it was
the stealing signal subs still reference the JSN debacle of 2023, and then I was telling them to draft him again, and then he had a rough week 1, and it was like, oh, we're doing the JSN.
It's like, oh, it's really Jover. Yeah.
Like the 16 target week 2 game I needed for my mental health big time, and my subs needed for their bags.
This is Ben. This is crazy. Jordan Mason, he has the highest rushing prop of the week. 93.5 rushing yards.
I like this take from James. Whittington played 100% of the snaps once Kupp was out. He plays the slot like Kupp. Moving the receptions up from 3.5 to get a multiplier feels good because he's either in that slot role or not. I love that. Like 5.5. And see if he gets
you can only do it on your phone. You can only do it. So you can't here. I will double check on my phone right now what it would be. Which is it's a really optimized app experience on Underdog. Let's see how ridiculous I can make it. I wonder how high they'll let me get. Elliot was talking about that last night on the show. Like if someone's gonna hit 50 yards. Like if someone like Whittington is going to hit 50 yards, he's probably going to hit 65 yards because it just means he's a full-time player, you know, and the projection is kind of middling it. If you do Whittington, if you do Whittington 6.5 receptions, you get a 7.72x multiplier.
6.5 does start to get, I mean, a 7-catch game. He could be in the role and get 10 targets and have 6 catches.
And have 6 catches. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I would stop at 5.5. I feel like 6 is a good number.
I mean, 5.5 is still 5.5 is 3.5x. So that's like you're getting a Xavier Legette touchdown for him just playing the position that he's going to be
getting 6 catches. Yeah, I think that's. I don't know, man. It's tempting. 3.5 up to 7.7. You said.
Yes. Actually, here and there's even a way for me to check this on Unabated.
That one extra catch to the 7th catch goes up to a 7.7x. That's you guys are I
I haven't even pulled this up yet because we haven't even gotten there yet. So projected receptions, I guess the line line is 3.
Is that true, Davis? I don't know enough about Whittington.
He had many more, but the Whittington thing is very funny because he really was he was not a serious college football player.
No, but they had a lot of good players on that team. I mean, you had Xavier Worthy, who didn't produce as well as he should have, in part because of the quarterback play. You had A.D. Mitchell there last year. You had Jatavian Sanders at tight end, who had a pretty good year. I mean, part of the thesis could be that he had really strong target competition and bad QB play, right?
Definitely. Okay. So this is going to give us fair odds for what Whittington's line is, which is 3 receptions and 31.5 yards. So this is for receptions. Fair odds on someone of Whittington's role getting to 6.5. They don't even have it. It's literally out of their range. 6.5 receptions.
5.5. They have it 11-1,
which is that. So you're taking a haircut. You are taking it per the prop simulator. You are taking a haircut, a small one. But you are taking one.
And that's because their baseline on him is 3.5. It's not 3. You have it set at 3. Is that the prop line? Is Underdog higher than?
They've got him at the 3.5 line is 1.12x. So I guess their baseline their baseline is actually probably more like 2.85.
Interesting.
If that makes sense. Which does make it look better when you sim that out. That actually, if you assume that is the correct line, you're actually getting a boost at 4.5. You'd actually be making money at 4.5.
Wait, what's the 4.5 number?
The 4.5 number is 5.25. Oh no, I'm wrong. I was thinking it was 3.25x with the multiplier. I'm wrong. So don't bet Whittington alt overs is the lesson here. Unless
underdogs sharp, they're onto it.
Yeah, it's all systemic. I mean, now obviously Jordan Whittington could have 8 receptions for 68 yards in this game. I'm not blinking an eye. I'm literally not blinking an eye if he does that. Really.
Right.
But
into the chat, Whittington over 5.5 just went from 3.6 to 3.2.
You can't
in real time.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, the question you have to ask with all of these Rams is what do they do if they're down 20 points in the fourth quarter? Because they gave up last week, right? They gave up. They said, Blake Corum, come on in. We're done trying, right? They were not going to give up, and then Stafford fumbled. So it was like 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They were going to try to get us some garbage points. And then Stafford fumbled in the pocket, and they said, all right, enough. We're done. But if you can get 4 quarters of Stafford hucking to these idiots, down 10 points, they're probably all too low. Like, literally probably every receiving line is too low.
We started with the Purdy stuff at the top, and you were talking about how banged up their receiving room is. And how
banged up.
It could actually be a somewhat close game. These teams know each other. And if it's a somewhat close game, Stafford's going to keep playing and throwing into the second half, right? Like, it has to be a situation where they get blown out like they did against the Cardinals last week. I don't know that that's necessarily the way it's going to work unless the Niners are really able to establish the run with Jordan Mason. That's the thing that would kind of screw all of these slips. But I feel pretty good about the fact that the Niners being banged up actually, and these teams knowing each other well, actually puts this game in the position to be reasonably close, which can create, potential pass volume equity for all this stuff.
Yeah, there is 100% potential for that stuff. If I was going to take, we got to fire one more. I'm taking Tyler. Carty does not like it. I'm firing Tyler Johnson higher receiving yards.
Yeah,
I mean,
I fucking love it.
That is my bet in this wide receiver room. I not that Tyler Johnson is the best, but Tyler Johnson is the one I think most likely to be in a role.
You have the two longest reception on this one as well.
Yeah, so I'm not going to do Whittington and Johnson together. That I think is bad.
That's a good 5. Yeah.
That is a good 5. I'm actually
I'm
gonna do 15 on that one. Also, I never do the flex. I never do the insurance. Thomas from Unabated was on the show in week 1, and he was like, "Yeah, the math says taking the flex is better a lot of the time." So you guys do with that what? If you're gonna do the 5 leg, you want to do the flex. Most of the time. I don't want to exactly quote him, but basically it's like, if you're a very serious player, very serious bettor, very serious prop wager, you are gonna. I mean, think of all the dumb ways in your life you've lost bets, Gretch. Just like just insanely dumb ways. That
many ways.
Although that 8-legger that I won last week, do you know how I won it?
No.
Trey McBride falling on that football on the fumble.
You had like a fantasy point over or something?
9.85 fantasy points. He was at 9.80, and he was going to be done. He was going to be done. He wasn't going to play anymore, and he fell on the fumble in the end zone.
That's amazing. And won an 8-legger off that.
And won an 8-legger.
Fumble recovery touchdown.
Which goes to show sports betting, very variant, can be very stupid. Pick 'em entries can be very variant, very stupid.
Dude, that Chargers-Steelers game has a 35.5 total.
That sounds like Easton stick.
Honestly, I'm going to take the under on that.
Of course. I mean, Easton stick versus... Wait, did I...
They're going to run the shit out of the ball, both sides. Whoever takes a 3-point lead is going to run the whole next drive. Arthur Smith's going to try to win this game by running it as much as he can. Jim Harbaugh is going to try to win this game by running as much as he can. I mean, it's 35.5.
What is the total if 4 field goals are kicked on each side? That gets us 24. Way under. Yeah, I was going to say that gets us way under. Yeah, we could even do 6 field goals to 5 field goals.
Yeah, I mean the only concern is if J.K. Dobbins breaks off some more long runs. But I mean, Steelers defense a little bit better than the Panthers and the Raiders that he's been gashing. I mean, I feels like an under game even at 35.5. Gross.
Literally unbelievable. Yeah, this is a great way to approach these. Let's see here. Let's put Shaheed in the simulator. What is Shaheed's line on Underdog right now? Shaheed's line is 49.5 receiving yards. 49.5, and his receptions is 3.5. That feels a little low actually for what might be a competitive game. Yeah, so look, I think if you get Shaheed to like 79.5 yards, then that starts being like you're getting paid pretty well there. I like that. I like that a good bit. All right, Ben. That was a good little hour. Made some pick 'em slips. We talked some ball. We pulled up NFL Pro. We both have some writing to get done. I got to go do a podcast with Karain here in a little bit. Tell the people about Stealing Signals, input volatility coming out. I assume probably here in a couple hours. And let's get you on your way, man.
Yeah, newsletter, bengretch.substack.com. Podcast, Ship Chasing and Stealing Bananas. Had a really good chat with Siegel on bananas yesterday about all the stuff that's been covered about the current state of offense and all of that. I think we did a pretty good job of summing all of it up, talking through it. It was about a 90-minute podcast, but yeah, a little bit over an hour, where we're at, and I think where we'll go. And we were talking through some key stuff for the tight end position, some of the other, ball-related stuff that will influence fantasy. If you like those kinds of takes, that was a fun episode. Yeah, that's about it.
All right, there we go. Everyone, check out Stealing Signals. Follow Ben on Twitter at yardspergretch, and I will be back Sunday night. Actually, no, Sunday morning. I'll be live, start sits, all that good stuff, and then Sunday night with the gillcast, Stealing Brisket. Ben, I know you like to ring the bell. Do you not ever get Chipotle? Do you not ever get the Chipotle bowl to go? Do you prefer Taco Bell?
I probably prefer Taco Bell. No, yeah, we get Chipotle a decent amount too. My wife loves Chipotle. Oh, I don't get brisket from there though. They have brisket at Chipotle?
It's like limited. It's only for like a couple months per year. Nothing better. It's like
Is that
on
good?
Sunday. That's like my treat, bro.
I'm a big brisket guy. Like when we get like barbecue takeout or whatever, I need to freaking learn how to make it. But I love brisket.
Obviously, it's not the greatest brisket in the world, but it's a brisket bowl. It's pretty goddamn good. It's pretty goddamn good.
I'm excited.
There you go. Next week on stealing brisket. Everyone, thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out. I'll be back with you guys on Sunday morning. Until then.